Indicator here with Team EXT, and today I have with me Nathan Hills and Slaine Harris.
Hello.
They recently competed in the UKGE event this past weekend, and Nathan placed top 8 in singles, first in teams with myself, and then Slaine placed second in teams as well. So let's just get a quick look at these play mats. Nathan, this one's up for grabs, isn't it?
Yeah, anyone wants to make an offer, let me know. I am willing to listen.
Yeah, that one's really sought after, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the nuts.
It is the nuts.
All right, so with this deck profile, these guys pretty much ran the same deck across singles and teams, minus a few cards. So we're going to have all 3 deck profiles in the description. And yeah, I'm going to let these guys just go with it.
Cool. Okay, so obviously the leader, Son Goku. Flip side, Bonds of Friendship, Son Goku. Obviously quite an established deck at the moment. The main deck, we actually used the same 50 cards through both events and both decks. We found the build to be pretty much thereabouts the best build we could have for the event. And I think with the results, it definitely shows. Some of the sideboards we changed over due to just card availability in the teams. I know my team were a bit more lenient in giving me access to cards that I wanted for the event. Slaine had to share some of his cards a bit more.
Yeah, we shared the Harry's is the big one that we shared with the Pan player, as we found that he needed it a bit more than me for certain matchups.
So the first cards in the deck are the 4-star balls. Quite a fundamental part to the deck. You need 4-star balls to play. We decided with 5 as the best number because it's less than 6 and more than 4. Really, you need to ensure that you consistently find a 4-star ball or a Son Goku. The adventure begins in in your first 6. If you don't have one in your opening 6, you have to mulligan all of them and find it in your second 6. If you run too many, the deck does become slightly inconsistent in the late game. So you have to balance consistently having one in your first turns to not drawing too many in the late game. So moving on, we've got Son Goku, The Adventure Begins. Again, 4 copies of this. This is probably the best card, best 1-drop in the deck at least. If you have this on turn 1, it just generates so much card advantage. For 4 turns, it lets you draw 4 Dragon Balls, your remaining 4, providing you've got one in your opener. And then also against certain matchups, it allows you to put cheap 30k bodies onto the board very efficiently. So yeah, this is probably like obviously again it's a staple in the deck, but it needs to be a 4 of.
Yeah, very powerful card.
Next, again, 4 Bonds of Friendship, Android 8. The synergy with the Son Goku Adventure Begins is obviously vital to make sure you maintain ball control in a lot of matchups. So for that reason, again, you just play 4 copies. And then to maximise on the Bonds of Friendship, we're playing a full set of 20k vanillas. We're playing 4 Son Goku Super Saiyans, 4 Super Saiyan Vegetas, and then 4 Dabura or Great Saiyaman. I personally play Great Saiyaman because he's great. Dabura's not so great, but Slaine's playing Dabura.
Slaine's been very lazy, and it may change now I go home.
As you saw with the 2 play sets of vanillas, we're playing 4 Trading Buddy Krillins. Again, that's to utilise the high consistency of finding a vanilla card in the early games. This enables us to apply a lot of pressure with the deck. You find a lot of the time the deck, you have to change the role of the deck very quickly based on the matchup and based on how the board develops. If your opponent is playing something like Height of Mastery, you need to be as aggressive as quickly as possible. So by having an early Awaken, you can then return a vanilla back onto the field with a Krillin, and you have 2 bodies for 2 mana. For 2 energy. Which again puts a lot of pressure on the opponent. It also allows you to, in the mirror match, get rid of the opposing Son Goku, The Adventure Begins, or the Android 8 if they have both in play. So again, a very important card for the deck. Another easy one, the main incentive being in blue, is Senzu Bean. That was the main decision the main reason we decided to play blue over the other colours. There's obviously lots of different variants going about: blue, yellow, red, yellow, red. The reason we play blue again is just consistency in the mana base. You find a lot of the early game you're charging a blue then a black, or a black then a blue. If you're playing multiple colours, it does constrain your energy quite a lot. So we decided to keep the deck as consistent as possible, and then utilising the ability to untap 2 mana with the Senzu Bean. Do you want to talk through Pan?
So we picked Pan because in the mirror match, it's important to awaken yourself if your opponent's just stalling you out. So this is probably the best one within the colours. We like it more than the Black Marseillan, although we haven't really done much testing with it at the moment. The mirror match is really, really important to not awaken your opponent, because you just get to draw 2 cards and then they can stall you out and just sit there behind drawing 2 cards, making a body each turn with the Gokus and other stuff like that.
I'm just gonna note, I don't think it's just important for the mirror match, because when I was
most things is just try not to awaken them too early, because the deck just counter advantages most things at the moment.
The deck excels obviously when you awaken the leader, and the leader has such an early awakening when you have 6 life and a vanilla card in your deck. So the main incentive is to self-awaken as quickly as possible, so you can start drawing 2 cards a turn, filtering the cards which are less relevant and drawing the cards that you need for certain matchups. One of the benefits of Awakened Talent Pan as well is the secondary ability at the end of turn, return it to your hand. One of the limitations of having the self-awakeners in the deck is that on your opponent's turn, they're very prone to being killed by anything, by another 5k in the Height of Mastery. They're killed by the Master Roshi, the draw package, and even then you can't really protect against just basic leader attacks, because it's such a card disadvantage using 2 cards to protect from an unawakened leader. So it's very important to protect your self-awakener. So bouncing it back to your hand solves a lot of the problems in the case that you don't have to protect it with the cards in your hand.
It's also really good against the Broly BRs, because it allows you to attack and then bounce it back and not allowing their flip side leader to KO, so it gives them one less sack outlet to play as well.
Yeah, that's really important, especially when you don't want them to go into the secret rare very early on, like turn 2.
I think in the singles one I played against Ridge from Team Exit EXT, and this didn't help me at all, because he just turn 2 had the nuts into secret rare. Next game, turn 3 had the nuts into secret rare.
He always has the nuts in that deck, so you can't blame yourself on that.
So now we move on to some of the more controversial cards for the deck. We decided to play 2 Marseillan Mysterious Warrior main. The main consideration being for the mirror matches. We anticipate there'll be a lot of skillless mirrors. The deck itself, you do feel like you have a lot of inputs into the deck and gaining a lot of value. So most people like to think that they're doing stuff in card games. So we expected, as a result, there'll be a lot of Sun Goku matchups, and I think there were across both events. Everyone in the team, I think Sandy played. You played 6 rounds of
I had 5 Kid Goku matchups in teams.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think I played it in one of the rounds. So out of the 8-round tournament,
we had 7, because
I played it twice.
He played it. Because remember, James played against Slaine. So
So 7 out of 8 rounds in the teams we played against a variant of Sun Goku. The reason Marseillan is super important is, initially with the deck, you're feeding your drop area quite quickly, so you can quite easily get an early turn, an early overrealm with only 5 cards needed for it. But the ability of being able to warp a 1-drop and 2 2-drops. If your opponent goes turn 1, Sun Goku, the adventure begins, turn 2, Training Buddy Krillin into a vanilla, you're able to play Marseillan for 1 mana and answer their entire board. And again, in some matchups where you need to be aggressive, again, it's a double striker, and if it takes a couple of creatures out of the board, off the board, then you've just gained a lot of card advantage. Super combos?
So the reason we're running this super combo over the Sparking one is because we're playing main deck overrealm. Probably not really much anything else to say about that. That's the only reason.
Just a consideration of playing.
It's just the life one. With the Hidden East Supreme Kai, the reason we're running this one is because it's the better one of the 2 options. Tramper does not give the ability to not give it double strike, and we're running it because it allows us to apply pressure, get our opponents down to just 2 life, and then finish them off with just 1 more attack. It's probably about it on that as well.
Yeah. So, our counter package, we're playing 3 Power Burst, 1 Wizard's Coercion. Power Burst is pretty important for the deck, allowing you to tap out and still hold up negates, counters. It allows you also to buy back the Son Goku, The Adventure Begins, and the Android 8. So it gives you more card advantage. The one-off Wizard's Coercion was just to accept the fact that in some games you're going to need to protect yourself from a multiple barrage of attacks. So if you keep mana up, you basically get a free negate without having to take a life off your Power Burst. If you go Wizard's Coercion in the first vital attack and then you Power Burst the second one using the mana, then in certain matchups that obviously helps you not to die. So
I'll let you talk about this.
Yeah.
It's more spicy.
So I was thinking the best way of beating the mirror, and there's a lot of different cards that are going around in the decks trying to find the best way to gain value out of the against the mirror matches. This card is almost exclusively for the mirror. There's obviously certain matchups where it has benefits in itself as well, but the main consideration for this card is the mirror. So the first obviously ability is to untap 2 mana, which is one of the most important parts of the deck. Most decks are normally playing cards like Demagra as their finisher, but a lot of matchups, you play a Demagra, you attack, your opponent negates, you paid 5 mana, sure they get to take 4 cards out of your hand, but a lot of the time you're going for game at that point. They have pressure on board, and ultimately you're going to die on the swing back because you're tapped out, you have no way of using your big combos to keep you alive, and they're either going to gain the advantage of having board control by clearing your board, or they're just going to kill you. With Shenron, initially it's a 4-drop, so it allows you to play it a turn before most of the other big threats in the game. And then when you do play it, you can initially untap 2 mana, untap 2 energy, which again allows you to keep up Senzu Beans, negates, or if you need to use your Hidden Power Supreme Kais defensively, it gives you more access to mana. The other ability, which is very good again at maintaining and keeping board control, is the ability to return a 2-drop from your graveyard to the battle, from your drop area to the battlefield. So with cards, when you're running a 4-of with Training Buddy Krillin, if you return a Training Buddy Krillin to the battlefield, you then get to return a Vanilla to the battlefield. So for your 4 mana, you've drawn a card, returned a 2 mana 15k, returned a 2 mana 20k, and then you've in essence killed a battle card. I think Sandy's just getting the cards to show them.
I was just looking at Krillin.
Yeah. So returning the Training Buddy Krillin doesn't say when you play it from your hand. It just says when it enters, you're able to then return a Vegeta or a Goku, remove your opponent's Son Goku, The Adventure Begins, or an Android 8, and then just instantly you have such a big board presence. For 4 mana, you've gained 8 mana, 8 energy, of power on your field, and then you've also removed one of their cards from the field. So for those reasons, this card is very good. Obviously, it's good in other matchups. It's good against the Pan decks, again, being able to get Krillin back to kill their Trunks or their Cabbers. It's also good against Janemba, again, just for applying pressure because they're milling you. Again, you get the same reason, you get to bring back 2 threats. So for that reason, we decided to play this over, say, a Demagra or one of the other big threats that you can play for the deck, like an at all cost Vegeta.
Yep.
And finally, this was quite a last minute change to the deck. We decided to play Gogeta Hero Revive again over the Demagra slot. This was the main battle between the two. Obviously, Shenron we found was a better secondary value card in the deck, but Demagra itself, as I said for reasons earlier, you can play it on 5, you can attack your opponent, but more often than not they're going to be able to survive the attack either through a negate or just having more than 4 cards in their hand for you to kind of beat them. With Gogeta, again, we had the idea in mind that we're going to be playing a lot of the mirror. Lots of Janembas going to be represented. Even Height of Mastery, Broly, it's okay on the play if you're able to survive a turn where they don't have the Victory Strike in hand. Playing Gogeta Hero Revived, obviously we're maximizing the option of casting it on 5 because we have 4 Super Saiyan Vegetas and 4 Super Saiyan Gokus. You obviously don't want to be playing on 7. This deck, you can't really. You're hoping to kill them before turn 7. But in the mirror, the way you beat the mirror is by having more cards than your opponent, having more card advantage, and eking out the value slowly and surely. What you find is at the end of the game where you're going for the win, or your opponent's going for the win, you both have massive hands of cards, and you're trying to apply pressure and defensively keep yourself from dying. With Gogeta, you're drawing for your deck at a consistent rate, by drawing 2 cards a turn off your leader effect and 1 card off your turn at the beginning of the turn. If you play Gogeta on 5 and you're able to find it, you get to reset their hand. You have a 30k triple strike in play that can't be killed by a Son Goku Adventure Begins, can't be negated in the yellow matches, it can't be counterplayed by a Crushable or a Cold Bloodlust. And it allows you to basically just win the game through there. You get them down to 4 life or so, you attack with your leader. You get down to 4 life, you play Gogeta Hero Revive, reset their hand, then attack with your board of creatures where they don't have enough cards in hand to out-combo them, then you attack for the finisher with Gogeta. So we didn't get rid of Demigra completely from the 65. We ended up playing it in the sideboard, but we felt for those reasons that we didn't really want to main deck it. Obviously, Demigra is a great ability to have, but for the purpose of the main deck, we think that the Hero Revived ultimately puts on a lot more pressure for the deck. It's a more viable win condition for the deck.
And during teams, I heard Slaine did something really, really cheeky. I heard you Shenron Gogeta one of your opponents.
I think it was top 4. I played against Yellow Vanilla Goku, and game 1, he awoken to be turn 2. So I was like, cool, gas, I'm going to draw all the cards. And then on turn 5, I had like 2 30Ks out, 2 Krillins with its 2 20Ks, a Goku, an Android, and a Shenron. So I attacked with all the battle cards, which whittled his hand down a bit. He took a couple of damage, went down to like 4 health. And then I just played Gogeta, reset his hand, and passed the turn. Reason being because he was on 4 health. Next turn I can just activate Shenron, give it critical, attack with this 1 card, and he goes down to such little card advantage that I'm just going to win no matter what then. Same thing happened again with Janemba. On turn 5, their life's like 4, 5. So you do all your attacks, kind of try and force them to awaken, and then play this. They go down to 3 cards in hand, and then you attack with this, and they're either forced to take it or forced to counter it with their leader if they don't draw one. So they then go down to 2 cards in hands, and you just, again, too much card advantage. They can't beat you from there. This did it 3 times against Janemba. It was disgusting.
This Gogeta over Demigra 100%, no matter what.
Yeah, I felt like every opponent I played against on the skill list when he played Demigra, I just had a negate. So he just felt like a trap. So he attacks, and I'm just like, okay, cool, I'll negate that. You can strip my hand away, and then I'm going to kill you on the swing back. Demigra's just not there anymore, really.
Chevron Gogeta Kidku confirmed is the new
the new spice.
the new Dragon Ball deck.
All right, so you two have 2 different side decks. They're actually quite similar, but we'll go over both of those and we'll talk about the differences. And yeah, so
do yours first.
Whichever one.
Sure. So perhaps it's easier if we go through the cards that we kept the same as in the sideboard. As I said, the sideboard for the deck, we played the same sideboard in singles. Do you have 2 Quinoas with you?
Yeah, I have 2 Quinoas.
So if I talk through the singles sideboard, so as we mentioned, we wanted to still play Demigra in the deck because it is a good value card. We don't think it is the best win condition for the deck, but it's certainly a card we want to see versus Janemba and Kidku variants. So we played a copy of this. We then played 2 copies of Bardock Fully Unleashed. This is to battle the Broly BR, the starter deck Broly decks. We want to disrupt the chain as much as possible. So we want to basically apply pressure by using cards like Pan and just attacking with our leader. And then while they're trying to build up their chain, we want to disrupt them at a point where they can't punish us. So we're using cards like Bardock, so we get to tap out with our threats. We get to play Bardock as a free card that basically gets rid of one of their tiers. If we can get it when they're on their 8-drop and we blow up their 8-drop, and if they don't have the SCR, that's fine. It's obviously their chain is over. If they have the SCR and they're not at 1 life, we can generally win from there as well.
Also good in the baby matchup, if they make an early 6-drop 8 baby, I can't remember what it's called, that allows you to then untap, play a 1-drop that you don't really care about. They are forced to do the trigger, whether they want to kill it or just draw a card. And then you can go into this and wipe the ball, wipe the baby away, and then you're not really under much pressure. It happened against James in the finals. He made baby turn 2, and I went Android. He KO'd it. I went Android, Goku. So I went Sensu Bean to untap, and then Android and Goku, and then attacked, and he did Revenge Death Ball to KO the Android, and then I awakened and just made this. So I just had everything against him on that game, and it put him so far behind again.
We have 1 copy of Ultimate Fusion Gogeta. This is just as a consideration for, again, mid-range matchups where we want to make a viable threat, get rid of two permanents on the battlefield, and then draw 2 cards. So it not really need to go into much detail here. It's just, again, just a value card that we expected for slower matchups to bring in. We then have 3 copies of Tien Shinhan Returning Fire. Again, a consideration for Janemba matchups across the weekend. The card is very good at applying lots of early game pressure. It's obviously not a card. It does work versus Janemba. It doesn't necessarily hose them, but the fact that we can put a one cost 15k battle card into play on kind of turns 2, 3, 4 really hinders their ability to proactively punish us for developing a board and trying to kill them, because obviously they can't get the value of untapping with Dimension Magics. So we wanted to keep 3 to keep, because we want to see multiples of the card, and we want to see it consistently. We then had 3 copies of Haru Haru. This is probably one of my favourite sideboard cards ever. Again, similar reason for Tien Shinhan. We want to see the card in multiples. We want to see it in the games we bring it in again. So we played 3 copies as a result. Obviously, if you can have room for 4, then play 4. If you expect there to be lots of Heightened Mastery or starter deck Broly. But you need to find space. So we thought 3 was the best number. It applies a lot of pressure against the Brody decks, and allows you to basically on turn 4 play a 1-drop, play Haru Haru, untap your energy, and keep going off in the chain and basically just developing a board. It's almost like a free, even on turn 3, it's a 3 battle card. It basically costs 0 because you untap your mana. Your energy. You do have to bear in mind about Cold Bloodlust. So a lot of the previous turns, you have to be trying to bait the Cold Bloodlust out of their hands. A lot of the time, your opponents are incentivized to Cold Bloodlust your pans, which obviously stops you awakening a turn early. But the less Cold Bloodlust they have in the hand, the more impactful your Haru Haru turns can be. As I said, especially on turn 3 and 4, where you can just play them as free spells, or in turn 4 you start netting energy. 2 Son Goku striving to be the best. It's again a kind of a consideration for the mirror match. We expected a lot of the mirror match, but we didn't really expect people to know necessarily how to handle the mirror match. We think that people apply a lot of value on Trading Buddy Krillin putting two threats into play. So as a result, we decided to play 2 Son Goku striving to be the best. I think ultimately the best way you're going to win in the mirror is, again, slow incremental card advantage, and then applying pressure with the 3 mana 30k vanillas, which you can find off your 1-drop Goku. But it was a consideration that we expected not many people to really know the full lengths of the ability of that card. And to, again, even if they do, you're still going to have the Training Buddies in your deck in the vanilla 2 mana 20ks. So again, they're just to buy time and take off unnecessary pressure, especially in like the yellow and the red-yellow matchups where that is a lot of their resource, I guess. We then had a single copy of Nafuba. this isn't really a consideration for Height of Mastery. I don't actually think Mafuba is good for Height of Mastery. They're never really killing you until they can tap all of your energy and then play the Victory Strike Broly and win that way. And you don't want to be holding your Awaken for that fight, because you want to be applying pressure, drawing cards for your deck to find the relevant cards that you could, like Senzu Beans or Training Buddy Krillins or more Pans, basically to apply a lot of early pressure. The main reason for the deck is things like Gogeta Shenron, where you basically want to have more negates in your deck, so you can find them. Again, if you can Mafuba a Gogeta Hero Revived when they go for the win, then obviously that's great for you. And then for singles, the last card we played in the deck was
2 copies of Time Control Konoha.
I got a second one. I mean this one, but this one is...
Is it a foil?
Is it a nice foil?
It's a foil, so it's the one I just bought off Slaine. So was it Slaine? Yeah.
Again, people are going to be playing Shigesh, and you just want to have a hedge for the Shigesh matchups.
Yeah, pretty obvious card.
So that was both of our singles sideboard. For my team sideboard, if I just quickly line these out, so we played the Demagra, the 2 Bardoks, the Ultimate Fusion Gogeta, 3 Tien Shinhans, 3 Haru Harus, 2 Striving to be the Best, Mafuba. Sorry, these are coming off the camera. In addition to these, I played a second copy of Mafuba. After seeing day 1, there was 2 Gogeta Shenrons in the top 16, one of them in the top 8. So I expected there to be maybe a slight increase in the number of Gogeta Shenron players for the next day, so I thought I'd just have an extra hedge against those types of decks. And an extra copy of Wizard's Coercion, again, an extra negate against those types of decks, the starter deck Broly, any deck that's going to apply a lot of early pressure that you feel need a bit more respite and a bit more answers to. So that's why we played the extra Wizard's Coercion. And again, I was quite fortunate to have teammates who let me basically pick the sideboard cards I wanted. I guess in realistic team events, you probably wouldn't get access to all the cards like TNs, Haru Harus, and the Bardoks as well. But my team were adamant for me to take them, so I wasn't gonna argue with them. Slaine's probably going to show a bit more realistic sideboard.
So I had to use Kami, Global Unified, again another Wizard's Coercion and another Mafuba, and then the spicy card that I wasn't too sure about but I got persuaded into was a Sarbon, the Emperor's Attendant. So the Sarbon is for the Height of Mastery matchups, for when they tap down and you have a Goku on board. When they go for the turn kill to Victory Strike you, you can combo with the Sarbon, untap the Sun Goku, and then combo with the Sun Goku. And if you have the Android A out, you can just stop them in the track and KO the Victory Strike. The Kamis, we found when we were testing the decks earlier that, the mirror matches earlier, that Kami's quite good in the mirror match if they overcommit to the board. So it's in there for any skillless deck, and also Pan and Baby matchups if they kind of just overcommit to the board again. So that's for that one. Mafuba, and just another one for...
Mafuba 2.
Yeah, one was already in the Siphons one, so I added an extra one for the Gogeta matchups. I just didn't need it. I never played against them. I was quite fortunate playing against all the decks. I had a good matchup on main deck. Another Wizard's Coercion just to have another negate. I brought that one in against the Broly because you can't Mafuba them on the Broly BR, because the 6 and 8 drop stops you playing two mana counters.
Yeah, that's one.
You can do it on the SCR, but not on the other 2.
So I just brought in an extra 1-drop-1 to help stay alive with that one. But again, in the teams he didn't see his secret rare, so I managed to stop the chain, and then he did the Tragedy of Awakening to have 2 out, and I managed to find Bardock Fully Unleashed and stop him again with that. That's about it, really. I didn't get to use this card, unfortunately. I was wanting to, but I dodged all of the Height of Masteries.
Yeah, so I wanna quickly talk about this card because I know Nate. Let me just get rid of all this. Get all that out of there. So I know people are starting to take this in for the Height of Mastery deck, for the Height of Mastery matchup. A lot of people are pretty hyped on that kind of tech. I know Nathan doesn't agree with it. I myself, as the Height of Mastery player for teams, don't. I think it should be included, but I don't exactly agree with it either, because as a Height of Mastery player, in my 5th round, I knew he was siding it in because it slipped out of his deck as he was siding. I was like, oh, that's not the card you want me to see. And then in top 8, as soon as he started siding, he grabbed 3 cards right away. I was like, those are the Zarbons. So I sort of knew game 2 and 3 to play around this card, and it was not difficult to focus on removing the Android 8s instead of the Gokus. Nathan, your thought? Nathan and Slaine, thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I think the main power of the card is the fact that people aren't aware that it's a card. If people aren't aware that you're playing this card, and they're going in for the kill with the victory strike, and you play this, then yeah, it's going to catch them off guard, and you're going to get them. But it's only going to happen the once. So I mean, yeah, if you can get your game 1 win, and then you can side this in and you can choose a win, then yeah, sure, it's going to work that one time. But as more and more people become aware that that's a sideboard option, the less of the window of being able to utilize it in that matchup becomes. People become aware that they can you can tap it down with the Shugesh Path to Greatness. You can also just tap it with the leader ability, put it into rest mode with the leader ability, then attack before you even go up the chain. So the as I said, the strength of of Zarbon is the fact that people aren't aware of Zarbon, but as more people become aware of it, it becomes a lot weaker card in my opinion.
I have to agree with you on that one again. I think the card's just the thing that I tell Sandy a lot when he tells me about certain cyber cards. I just say it's a bit too cute. It's going to catch some people off, but it's not going to stay, and it's.
Yeah, and I think for singles, as this card has become popular, I think Broly Height of Mastery players should start teching this card into their sideboard, because yes, you need the sparking, but you can always play Height of Mastery. You can time it with your Awakening, or if you can't, you just take a life, untap an energy, and then you use the Mass Saiyan to warp away the Android 8s. So you don't have to worry about the sparking. You do it after you play the Height, and then you don't have to worry about Zarbon. So I think that's something that Height of Mastery players might want to consider teching in. So I don't think Zarbon's here to stay. It's just come in for a bit.
Yeah, it's a spicy include, but it's only there when people don't expect it. I guess that's like how Shugesh used to be played. When people don't expect Shugesh does really well because people don't respect it. If you don't respect Zarbon, then you're going to get punished by it, and there'll be some cases where we don't respect it and they do have it and you get punished, and then you'll remember next time they have Zarbon, or Zarbon is a card, so I should play around it. So it's just like, yeah, I think the more people learn, the less relevant it becomes.
Okay, and this video is getting a bit long, so is this the best build of Kid Goku? Yes, undeniably. I think I would agree as well with Jason going undefeated in singles with blue-black Kid Goku and taking first place, first ever win for Kid Goku. Slaine went undefeated in Team Wars, even through the finals. So there's no doubting that blue-black Kid Goku is the strongest build.
Yeah, even then I was undefeated in the